We've been looking forward to Nintendo Switch Sports for quite some time. Since the Switch came out, its lack of a Wii Sports equivalent has been conspicuous. Thankfully, the wait is over. We've already shared our excitement for Nintendo Switch Sports in our preview. Now that we've had more time with it, Nintendo Switch Sports has solidified itself as the thing that will stick on the telly when we're with a couple of people and we fancy a bit of a low-stakes contest. That's not to say it has no flaws though. It's important to keep in mind that as of yet, reviewers have not been able to play online, so this is a review of the offline/local experience only. As mentioned in our preview, Switch Sports has a solid selection of sports to start off with. Golf will arrive at some point in the future, but for now we have 6 to play: volleyball, badminton, bowling, football, gambara and tennis. Having had more time to play each of the sports, there are definitely some we'll be returning to much more than others. Bowling remains a classic, and the special mode offers an extra challenge with obstacles and inclines along the lane. It still feels slightly unfinished though. The game is much more simple than the versions we're used to from Wii Sports. There's no longer the option to release the ball at a different point to get a different trajectory. You used to be able to chuck the ball miles up in the air or roll it nicely along the ground, but now the main things you have to control over are limited to the spin you put on the ball and the initial path you aim down. This is something of a theme with a few sports. We feel they could have included a bit more depth in gameplay, and there's not a huge amount to them once you've mastered a few basic maneuvers. Volleyball is a super simple timing challenge, while tennis feels weirdly unresponsive. Sure, there are a few bits of nuance to be seen here, but a few sports just don't have enough about them. Given there are currently only 6 to choose from, each one that falls short is a big blow. Of course, there are highlights and big ones. Once you're used to Kambara and the ability to recenter your sword when it gets out of whack, it happens somewhat often, but that's the struggle when there's no sensor bar to point out. It's a classic delight to play with friends and fight for top glory on top of a giant podium, in a swimming pool, in a library. The real surprise highlights were badminton and football though. Badminton is the game tennis wanted to be in Switch Sports. You can mix up your shots to force your opponents to dart around the court, with the goal being to force them into an awkward position and make them chuck you an easy shot to smash home. Each match is best of 5, and it gets super intense when you and a rival are getting pumped and going head to head. Football is a bit of a Rocket League-esque game, albeit significantly simplified. The ball is massive and you're required to swing the right Joy-Con to kick the ball. You can run around the pitch, jump about, and kick the ball in any direction, including high and low kicks depending on your motion. It's easy and reliable to get grips with, but a 4v4 scenario requires a bit of strategic thinking and precise aiming. You can also knee slide when you score, which is a nice touch. It has a lot to it, and we were pleasantly surprised with the mode. You need 2 Joy-Cons each, but if you have them, football is a delight. With a leg strap, there's even a penalty shootout mode, which requires you to kick your actual foot with the right timing to score a goal. It's a niche novelty, but fun in small doses. Given that this review could only focus on the offline experience, it's worth exploring in more depth just what you're getting into if you don't play offline. Unfortunately, it isn't a whole lot. In previous Wii Sports titles, you were able to rank up your meat offline with the game adjusting your opponent depending on the skill level. When you finally faced Matt at boxing, you knew you'd worked for it. It's why he's an icon to the fan of the series. He terrorized the store with his flying fists of fury. Here, there are 3 difficulty options and no real ability to progress aside from high scores in bowling and more consistently beating CPU characters of a higher level. You also can't unlock new cosmetic options without playing online, meaning we haven't been able to deck out our character with the freshest gear on the court or add the most ludicrous hairstyles. There'll be ranking systems and the like when playing online, along with the ability to unlock sweet gear and customize your character, but the offline experience leaves a lot to be desired. Perhaps a more satisfying single-player experience will be added in the future, but for now, you'll have the best offline experience with a few friends in the living room. The magic of Wii Sports isn't quite here, but we're definitely excited for the future of Switch Sports. It's one we'll keep downloaded, ready for unsuspecting foes to have a drink and challenge us to a game of Kambara or badminton. There isn't a lot of longevity to the experience without online play, but diehards will be keen to grind the leaderboards online. We know golf will be added to Nintendo Switch Sports, but we're hoping this isn't the last new edition we receive. Maybe we could learn more about Spocko Square, the Woohoo Island equivalent locale, where all the sports events are hosted, with an aeroplane game like in Wii Sports Resort. Perhaps we could calm things down and go fishing at the Spocko Square City coastline, or head to the bouldering gym for a spot of rock climbing. Even with the existing games, it feels like there's potential for more. More challenges, more modes, more ways to play the game so they don't get samey, 100-pin bowling, a single-player sword fighting showdown mode, maybe even a way to integrate the leg strap penalty shootout mode into a more active football situation. The world is at Nintendo Switch Sports' feet and the bones are there for a perfect party game. At the moment though, Nintendo Switch Sports is not the perfect party game. It's a damn good one though, and when the games hit, they're a real treat when you have others around with you. Without enough about the single player modes to get you hooked though, you'll be fully reliant on getting a big group of pals over and putting your game faces on, or trying your luck online. Perhaps in the future we'll see Nintendo Switch Sports reach its full potential, but from what we've played, it's some distance off yet.